All right. Sorry for the delay, guys. So yeah, we're here. We're day one, which for those of you that are new, day one is the second day actually of this series, and I created a page. Let me share that with you as well if you guys want to follow along with the content. Actually, I'll send that over to you guys in a little bit when we get to that step. But basically, just to kind of recap with day zero. On day zero, we did a high level overview of Cypress, and I showed you how to install it, and it was super easy to do. And with the day zero page, it's like a quarter of it is the setup. It's super easy, and we ran it for the first time. That got some uh, examples set up on our local machines, and we wrote our first test, and it was cool to see that run. Um, and that test was just visiting the sign-in page of our real world app, which is a new thing for this. It's a new addition to the weekly workshop this time around, is using that real world app as opposed to um, the to do MVC. And then we did presented the take home challenge, which was filling out the username and password fields on that on our new app, and then clicking on the sign in button. So let's just dive right into it. So how should we go about finding selectors to query for the inputs? Um, we could use the selector playground, which I'll show you in a little bit. But usually how we do it is we just go into Chrome, into DevTools, and uh, go to the inspector, and use that to see um, what the DOM looks like. And when we went to the app, let me actually just pull that up. Let's see, on localhost. I think I've got that still up. Yeah. So when we go there and inspect it, let's see here. I'll share that. There's the app. There it is. So when we go to the app, so here's our app. Actually, let me share the actual. Let me share it in the. I'll actually share it in the browser. Let's see. There we go. So we're actually in the application. We go to. Let's see. Sorry. So I'll just bring up DevTools. Let's put this down here. There you go. And go to your elements, and then you can click on this little guy here, and then hover over the different elements here. So like with this guy here, I found that there was an ID username, and that looked pretty good. I looked at these classes, and I didn't really love the way those looked. So that's how I attacked it. There are different ways that you could do it, but that was kind of my approach, how I did it in this case. And same thing with the password input. So just like a lot of you who might not be in the developer role, right? You're not necessarily going to be the one that created these inputs and created the IDs. Maybe you are, but for a lot of us, we don't kind of have control over this stuff. So it's good to it's good to go in and actually just see how it's see how it is designed, and just like with having an app that we're not familiar with, we can see um, we can kind of go through the exercises if it's the real world. I Same with me. Like I didn't design this app, so I'm just kind of going with what's already there. In this case, there's no data test attribute or anything like that that I see that we can use. So I'm going off of the ID of those. So um, coming back to here, so how do we go about finding the selectors, and we go in and inspect the DOM, and so that brings me to how we would solve that. So we're visiting, and then we get the username. We type in the the username, and of course the password, and um, and we can see that run. Let me go ahead and pull up my runner, and we'll give that a go. Here we go. Let's see. Let's see. Is this it? There we go. So I'll just restart that. Oops. Here we go. All right, so we'll rerun that. And that shows that we visited the application. And if we hover over if we hover over in the command log, we can actually see each step as we do it here. So getting the username and typing it in, and then what happens before and after, as well as with the password. Let's go back here. So, oops. So for any of you that might not be familiar with the document object model, the DOM, if that is kind of fuzzy to you, or maybe you need a refresher, there's a great intro here that I'll link in the day one content page, and if and as well as some other resources here with regards to document element selection with jQuery, which is going to be pretty similar to how Cypress works. They kind of borrow some of that syntax from jQuery. So these jQuery resources are super helpful, even if you're experienced. These are actually some great tools, especially if some of the selectors aren't as common. So I mean, I'll just go ahead and bring up one of these here. So this is like there's some class selection here, but I don't often use nth of type and nth last child and stuff like that. So this is actually good to and even this image one here, these are less used. So this is kind of a good way, a good little kind of playground to see how these might work. So yeah, so I'll put that on I'll have that on the content page. So we still have still have to click the sign in button. So we can inspect that. Let's go ahead and do that here. If we go back to this guy, let's see. Okay, cool. So now I'll go ahead and select this and hover over that. And here we have the button. So it's a button, and it's actually the only button that's on this page. And let's see, and it has inside of it, it has this span that has a label of some kind and the sign-in text. And this touch ripple root, not really sure what that is. And it looks like it has some, let's see, it's got this data test, sign in, submit, and a type of submit, and a bunch of classes. None of these are really, they're kind of convoluted in my opinion. It's contain primary, full width. So, what should we go with? There's a couple of different options that we have. So um, we can target it by the button. So we can do site.get button.click to click the button. And that's pretty simple, right? So it's 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 kind of brittle because I mean, it's simple. We know that we're clicking on a button when we're reading that, but if we add another button to that page, then it's just going to break. So with this next one, this is just one of the classes that I think was probably the least convoluted, I guess. Um, it's kind of ambiguous. It's heavily coupled to style, meaning that if style changes, um, then so if somebody changes this class, either reassigns a new class or changes the name of this class, then this is going to break as well. And to for when we say break, we want to write our test in such a way that when there are changes, which inevitably do happen, we want to limit um, the amount of failure, or rather the amount of maintenance that's required to update the tests when we update our application, right? So when we couple it to style, which is something that's more likely to change, then we're dealing with brittle tests or tests that require more maintenance or are going to fail, not because there's a problem with the application, but just because we changed something in the app and didn't change um, the test. So this next one is that submit that we saw in there. Um, it it definitely doesn't suffer from those same drawbacks as far as like it's not coupled to style, and that button is most likely going to submit the form. But I think using the type attribute is not really repeatable, and it's also somewhat ambiguous, I guess. The next one though is definitely better. So we have that data test attribute, and for those who aren't familiar with this strategy, what data test is it's basically it's designed for uh, for using it in tests. The what we're implying here with this data test is that this value data test shouldn't change, and if it is going to change, you have to expect that the tests that need it also need to be updated as well. Because so it's not coupled to style like the the second one there. Um, and yeah, so it's exclusive to this application. Application meaning writing our automation. The next one here is similar to the first. So we are getting a button, but we're specifically getting the button that contains sign in. So if we add another button, most likely it's not also going to contain sign in. We're going to have two sign in buttons, I don't think. So that's not likely. So this is definitely not as brittle as the first three for sure. Um, but it has the context that's missing in that first one. What I also like about it is that it's easy to read. When you're looking at a test and you look at this, it's very obvious that we're clicking on a button that contains sign in. as opposed to MUI button base root, we don't, that's not quite, specific. It's not easy to know what's going on, at least just by looking at the test, right? Um, so I like the last one. I think data test is good. The reason why I like the last one is because it allows me to, I mean, I can write this most likely without even looking at dev tools, because if I'm looking at the application, I know that it contains text sign in and I know it's most likely button. So in a lot of cases, I can just write this and not even have to look, not even have to really try. Um, but it's also very readable, and it reads like the user, would use the application, right? Um, a user interacts with our app based on textual content first. And so that's why I feel like that's how we should test. And of course, it makes it more readable and it gives us more confidence. And if the content is changing, if that sign in changes to login, maybe this is kind of a too simple of an example, but in a lot of cases, we probably want to update our test case, and we want to update our documentation and other references, because it's going to confuse, that's going to confuse, users otherwise. And so we kind of want the test to break, in the case that textual content changes, forces us to say, okay, wait a minute, we changed content. Let's make sure that these other things are changed as well, or updated as well along with it. So just like a caveat, I guess, is we are assuming that changes to textual content, aren't, happening all the time, despite, the annoyance that might cause, or the friction that might cause for users when that content is changing a lot. But if it does, we can always fall back to data test. And especially, like, for example, if we're testing a part of our product that we know is, maybe it's in like a beta phase, or it's in kind of like a prototype phase, so we know it's going to change, we might want to use data test instead. And Cypress has a great best practices on that as well. That'll be on the content page. So before we proceed, let's go ahead and get the day one branch. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull up. Let's see, I'm going to pull up, I'll share my VS Code screen if I can get my act together here. Let's see. Okay. Well, let me see here. Let me see if I can just go back to day 0. Yeah, so essentially you're just going to do git checkout day 1, and then do an npm install. Let me see here. And then once you do npm install, I'm going to kill some of these things, so that way, let's see. And then I'll go to, I still need to share my VS Code here. There we go. All right, and I probably want to make this a little mo bigger. Let me see if I can do that. And wow, that's huge, but I think that's okay. All right. Can actually close this. Let's see. Okay. All right. Actually, let me do like a new shell. Okay. So if you were to do npm install, just go ahead and try that now. Okay, actually, I take that back. I should probably switch to 12, version 12. By the way, if anybody wants to know how to do this where you can actually switch node versions, you can hit me up on Slack later. Maybe I'll do like a tutorial or something on this, but that's super handy when you need it. So anytime you switch, you have to do npm install again. Let me kill that here. If maybe you're using a different IDE, but down at the bottom in VS Code, you can see at the bottom left that you can see the branch that you're in. And otherwise, you can go to Git status, and you can actually see what branch you're in. You can ignore this stuff that I've got going on. That's just based on the changes that I've made locally that aren't related to this. Well, they are. They're like for the database and the presentation that I've got open. But let's see. Okay, so we ran npm install. We're on the branch, and we're in the right version of Node. So now what we want to do is, let's see. So now we want to, well, okay. So let's say we did npx Cypress, just like this. Oh, sorry, npx Cypress open. Then what we'll have is we'll have, you'll see that the, oh wait, I think I have two things of Cypress running at the same time. My bad. So I was going to show you the error, but it's actually not the error that you'll see. Let's do that again. Okay, so this is what you might see. So this says, warning, Cypress cannot verify that the server is running localhost. So what that means is that you're you're not running it. So we need to go back here, and we need to run it first. So we do npm start, and then that'll run, and then it'll open in localhost 3000. And now that we have that open, now we can go into another terminal, and do npx Cypress open. And let's see. There we go. So now we've got our Cypress open here, and we can go into login. These are really handy. These collapse all, expand all, but you can also do this, and there's your login. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and then a new browser window should open. Let's see, and that's this guy here. There we go. So now we have our Cypress window open. So now let's go ahead and so a couple things to keep in mind. So now that we have everything up and going, we have our test running, we have the right branch test checked out. So now we want to so a couple of things that I want to clarify here. So with every new branch, you're going to have there's going to be the code that I demonstrated the previous day. That's going to be in the new branch, and then any of the hands-on work that we do together or things that I demonstrate that will be in there. And the solution to the take-home challenge as well is also in that new branch. So for any of you that may have missed one session or missed the opportunity to do the take-home challenge, then you can just get the new, the latest branch, and that'll have the solution. Because the solutions, or rather the challenges, are going to build on previous ones. So it's good to be kind of, caught up. So you don't have to worry about, say you miss like, half of the workshop or something. Having the latest branch kind of brings you up to speed. And then of course you'll have the content pages, which are just at my page, my iHeartJS.dev. So every new branch comes with that, and something to note with this. Let me actually pull up the code here. So back here, I'll bring up that that file. Where is it? It would be in Cypress and integration and login. So here's our login spec, and let me make this maybe just a hair bigger. Okay, so with this login spec, it's a little bit different format than what I presented earlier. It doesn't have that / directive at the top either. I added some configuration to TypeScript, so I put a new TS config. I won't get into that in this session, but we can certainly open that up for another time. But I did that, and I added some configuration for ESLint and Prettier as well. So that kind of fixed any formatting things that we had before. So now all of the chains are kind of aligned there. And then if you hover over, you can also see the helpers there with the that come with the intelligent code. Intelligent, what's that called? Code completion. Yep. Yeah, and I also updated the Cypress config, but I'll talk a little bit more about that. So let's get into the selector playground. So here we have the the username and password that we're filling in, but we're not clicking on submit. So let's go ahead and add that in. So if we do, let's see here. So if we go back to, where are you? This guy here. There we go. Okay, got too many windows open, guys. Okay, here we go. So we looked at the usual approach, which is, hold on a second. I want to kind of shrink myself down here, put me in the corner. I haven't been good at go in the corner. Okay. All right, so now, we're in our app, and we said, okay, well, if we go to DevTools, we can go down into elements and inspect that way. But there's also the selector playground. That's accessed through the little button to the left of the address bar there inside the iframe. So you click on that, and then underneath there's the selector playground is opened up. And similar to how DevTools works, you can actually click on this and hover over elements. But the fun part is you can actually click on this and it puts in the ideal, what's usually the ideal selector there. And then to the right, there's a copy to clipboard and print to console. Let me pull up DevTools and go to console, and I'll click on that. So print to console, we've got the actual command, the elements that it found, and the specific element that's yielded by this sci.get. So I can actually do copy to clipboard, and then I can go over to my VS Code, and then we'll just pretend that's not there, and then I can just do Command V or Control V or whatever, or paste, and put that in there. So I don't even have to do any work. It's pretty amazing. And same thing with the password. So I can click that little guy, hover over here. There's my side.get, and copy to clipboard. So now let's look at the sign in. So if I click on this like that, this is the label. So we want to grab the entire button. So that's why I'm hovering over to the left or to the outside of that. And so now we have this data test sign in submit. That's what it comes up with. But I actually like the contains. We could use that too. Let's do copy to clipboard, and we'll go here and we'll paste that in, fix the alignment a little bit. And I'm going to do Command S. I'm on a Mac. That saves it. And then it actually reruns. It went pretty quick, but it actually does rerun this. So let me see. So I'll go back and change this here. So you can see there it goes. So we're visiting and typing and everything. And so now we got that. Okay, so of course I could have done the click, but I wanted to, the reason why I did this is because a lot of times we might just be doing one step at a time and not, kind of getting ahead of ourselves. So the nice thing here is that you can do kind of one step at a time, make sure, okay, we've got the right thing. So now I want to click on it. So I'm going to go back to my editor. I'm going to do .click. Okay. And then I'll go back. Whoops, is that the right? That's the wrong one. Oh no, that's not the wrong one. I just clicked on it and it signed me in. There we go. So so there we go. So we found the sign in and we clicked on it. Now let's go back to the code again. And I'm going to change this. I'm going to do sci dot. I'm going to do button and then contains and sign in. And we'll try that. I'm going to do Command S. And there we go. And then so now you can see it's got the button contains sign in click, just the same as before. Now sometimes you might use this and say you click on it and it doesn't really come up with anything good, you know, like this. This is kind of a monstrosity. But when you're just kind of prototyping or getting a test going, sometimes it can still be helpful to just have this, you know, copy it, do a get, and then move on. And then you can always come back, say you're just starting to work on the test and you want to get the whole thing working, you can always come back and kind of polish this up a little bit. Yeah, it's just another approach to something that I've seen before, to just kind of get a test off the ground. So let's see. So we talked about selected playground and copying. Oh, okay. All right. So let's look at that change that I told you about before. So and then I'll try to find a place for a clean break here, and I'll answer questions. So so we have this visit, right? So we've got localhost 3000. Well, there actually is a configuration. So if I go into the project and go to cypress.json, I actually added this in for this branch, so you didn't have to. It's base URL and the local host. You have to have the HTTP there for this, unlike visit. But by doing so, we can actually just go here and eliminate this. And from now on, we just need to put the route in, and the local host part will just be automatically grabbed from the base URL. So if I do that and I save it and go back, we'll see that rerun. So now I'm visiting sign in and it goes to localhost just like before. And there's a lot of other configuration. You can change the viewport as well. Maybe we'll talk about that in another session. The other thing I wanted to show you as well is with this last one, we're getting the button. This button contains sign in. This is actually the same. There's actually a shorthand for it. It's sci.contains. I've got a slide for that. So with sci.contains, basically it just gets the textual content inside of the DOM. So by doing this first one, sci.contains real world app, it's going to search the entire document top to bottom for that text real world app, and then the first result is the element that it's going to return. We can also provide we can also have it return a specific element. So let's just say that real world app is somewhere inside of the title. It's inside of the title element, or the element with the title class. Then we can put this title there. And I like the way that looks, because we're saying, okay, we want to find the title real world app, or button real world app, which we'll talk about how to use that button in a bit for our login. But lastly here, we can chain it off of a sci.get, and that limits its context to whatever that returns. So let's just say that real world app is the title of a dialog box. So we can say sci.get, and then within that within that dialog, find the title real world app. So if that appears multiple times in your application, you can kind of narrow it down or limit its context. So now we can update our tests like that. So we can actually do this sci.contains button sign in. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we'll go sci.contains and we'll do button sign in. And then as you can see here in this helper, it looks like there's also some options that you can do as well. Let's see. And I think there's like a match. I think there's like a match case, and I could do false. And then what that does is that if it ends up being all lowercase, or if I did something like that, or even just all lowercase, even if it's all uppercase, it'll still match. But I'm not going to use that option this time around. I'm just going to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And this should restart. Let's see. There we go. I guess it was faster than I than I had a chance to see it. Okay, so we're visiting, we're grabbing everything, and we're typing, and we're clicking on the sign in button just like we want, just like we expect. Okay, so now we're in login. So that looks good. So all right, let's it's 7:54. Let's go ahead and take a quick 5-minute break here, maybe 10 minutes, five minutes or so, and then we'll move on. We'll talk about, we're moving kind of quickly here, and I want to give you guys a chance to kind of ask questions in case there's any confusion. But yeah, we'll take as long as we need to. I'll have a water break, and we'll talk about assertions next in this last part, and then I'll give you guys a challenge. Maybe we'll do some activity, a little bit more hands-on if we have time, and then I'll give you the challenge, and we'll wrap it up from there. So I'll go on mute for a minute, grab a drink of water, and be right back. Oh, okay. So where can I find the day zero content page? So thank you, Russell. So it looks like Trevor gave you that link. I'll also give you the link to day one. I'll put that in this chat here. Basically, the format of this workshop is essentially I'm kind of putting together some slides, but it's mainly hands-on, and I have I call it the session content page, but essentially it's kind of like a blog um, where basically I just kind of go through all of the content um, that I'm presenting in the form of slides mostly, because I found out last time through the last workshop that the slides the slides were really kind of crummy because it didn't really take into account all of the things that I talked about during the workshop. And on top of it all, we weren't recording any of the workshops either. So that didn't really help. So people were saying, "Oh, well, do you have the slides?" But I mean, I don't know that they were very useful because it didn't have a whole lot of context to them. So I decided to kind of take this approach where it's a little bit extra effort, and as I'm not able to make pretty slides as easily. I don't have time, but the real meat of it, the real good content is going to come in these is going to come into is going to be the valuable stuff is on these content pages. So you just go to iheartjs.dev. That's my site that I started, and hopefully we'll continue to put other content on. But for now, it just has this workshop information. But basically, just whatever day it is, um, the day number, you just do day dash and then the number, and you'll have your content. I don't post anything in advance. So in other words, you won't find day 2, 3, etc. on there, um, because I'm just kind of posting it as it's ready. But definitely at the time um, that we go live at the time of this session, it's all there and ready. Um, and yeah, so um, you can go on and look through it and look ahead if you want. But I'll be going through all of it in the session, all through the content there. So we'll take just a few more minutes if you guys have any questions, and we'll continue just a minute. Oh, I missed this question here from Clint. What's the Slack channel he mentioned? I'm going to go ahead and post. I'm going to see if I can find a link to that or an invitation to that, and I'll post that on the chat, and maybe I'll put it in the general um, information page, which actually is iHeartJS, iHeartJS.dev/workshop. And I'll just go ahead and post this in the chat as well. That's just kind of general information about the workshop if you guys haven't seen it. Okay, so I was able to go into Slack and generate that that invite. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and resume here. So, you're welcome, Clint. Okay, so all right, so a test isn't a test without assertions, right? So even though even though with these commands, visit, get, type, contains, etc., it doesn't look like we're making assertions, but really implicitly we are making. Cypress is making assertions when you do that. So like with, excuse me, with visit, for example, we are asserting that the page loads. You don't have to add any assertions for that. When you're doing a get, we're making sure that there's that element exists on the page. Otherwise, it throws an error. We also are when we do a type where Cypress is implicitly making an assertion that the that the that element is not disabled or otherwise not able to be typed in. So if it's disabled, you can't type in it. If it's not a if it's a button, you can't type into a button, right? So those types of things. There are assertions made in that way. So the nice thing is that you can find the element and type into it, and it's not just going to simulate the user typing in and then move on, and then unbeknownst to you the field is disabled or whatever, or not visible. um, it'll throw an error. And with click even more so. So there's actually some actionability that that Cypress looks for to before it clicks. So like for example, if I go to click on a button, but something else is covering that button, then it'll throw an error. So even though it's technically existing on the DOM, if there's another element that's over it, or if it's not big enough to click on. So let's just say it has like 0, 0 pixel dimensions or whatever, then same thing. It won't pass. So there are some implicit assertions being made there. Let me switch to my slide here. So so those are the implicit assertions, but there's actually a whole page on default assertions. I'll just give you a quick preview of that. So with, so I'm gonna make this in bacon. Let's see. There we go. Hopefully that's clear. But with these default assertions, so many commands have a default built-in assertion, or rather have requirements that may cause it to fail without needing an explicit assertion you've added. So we've got these, and I talked about this. The click expects the element to be in an actionable state, and you can look into the details here as far as actionability and what it needs. Like it's not hidden, disabled, detached, animating, covered, etc. So there's plenty of good documentation there as far as that if you want to look more into it. But the nice thing is that we don't have to have a lot of noise in our test as a result, right? We don't have to say, okay, make sure that okay, sci dot contains button, and then make sure that it's visible and then click on it. We don't have to necessarily do those kinds of things. Okay, So making assertions explicitly is done with .should. So with .should, there's chai assertions. You can look at the chai library. If a lot of other test automation libraries take advantage of chai, use chai for assertions. So it's pretty common. And if you guys want, I can do a separate tutorial on that if necessary. But anyway, you guys might have noticed that with the sign in button, that when you just have the username but no password, that the sign in button is disabled. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and put a pause in our test. So we go to right under the time we type user, I'm going to do sci.pause. This is a really cool feature. So I'm going to save that, and then I'll go into my test. And let's see. And then, okay, so now it paused it at that point. So now what I can do is I can see that at that point in time, that the sign in button is disabled. So I press play to continue, but I can also go back here and um, and I can see the DOM snapshot. So if I click on if I click on that command, that type command, that pins it. So there's a little pin there. This on the right that we see is not the app as it is, it's actually a snapshot of the DOM in this point in time. And down at the bottom, there's a before and an after snapshot. So I can see that before, the sign in button looks like it's enabled, and after, it's disabled. And I can go here to selector playground, and I can click on that. I guess the whole form changed style at that point. But anyway, let me go into, where are we? Into here and do get. Why can't I grab that? I don't know why I can't grab that particular sign in button, but that's okay. I can fall back to the there we go. I can fall back to the dev tools. So here's our sign in button, and where's disabled? Right here. So we can see here that there is a disabled attribute to that for that button. So that's good. So now we can actually assert that. So let's go back to our and go back here, and let's do this site dot contains button sign in, and then dot should. Okay, whoops. And then in here, we hover over this. So it says here that that it takes a chainer. Okay, so dot should takes a chainer. Example is BIA, and whoops, let me see if I can, does it actually show examples in there? I guess it doesn't show any examples in this, but whoops. Let's see. But I can actually start typing chainers in here. So we want to see if it should be disabled. So we'll type B, whoops, B, and then disabled, and it appears in there. So we can actually select that. So if it's valid, it'll actually auto complete it there. So that's pretty cool. So we have the button. We want to assert that it's disabled. So let's go ahead and, and go back to our test here. All right. So now, oh, forgot to save. So we'll save and revisiting, and then we have our I must have mucked with it. I must have interacted with it or done something. Let's see. Visit, get, and then contains, and then get password, type secret, and then let's see, contains, click 401. That's weird. I'm not sure why that happened. Let's see, is something going on? Maybe I need to restart this. Let me try doing that. Maybe something happened there. I'm not sure. Oh, that's not the one I meant to restart. I meant to restart the application. Sorry. So do npm start. I'll restart that. Now, of course, I've got to restart the restart Cypress. Let's do that. Okay. Well, let's give it another go. Let's see. I'll run that and I'll share that screen. There we go. So it seemed to work fine there. Let me just refresh it one more time. I think we're okay. I'm not sure what I did, but it works now. So, okay, so just to kind of step through, so we do type, we say, okay, we've got this that contains that, and then we have our assertion and it's green, it passes, and it's disabled. So now we get the password, we type in that, and we get the sign in and we could click on it and we log in. So good, so that seems to work. Now, should we go to here and assert that it's enabled at this point? No, I'm going to argue no, we don't need to, and that's because we can click on it. The fact that we can click on it, if it was disabled at this point, it would fail at the point of click here. So I don't think we need to assert that it's enabled at this stage, because that's an implicit assertion. Okay. All right, let's do another assertion. So if we go back to my editor here, and okay, so actually, sorry, let me go back to the test, and then I want to look at that time where it's disabled. So it was, let's see, we type this in and then after, and then it's disabled at this point. Okay, now let's inspect it. I don't know why I can't get inside this form with inspect or with the selector, but whatever. So we've got, this is the button. Okay, so in addition to it having this disabled attribute, it also has this MUI disabled class. Okay, so not only is it disabled, but there's also some style that's associated with that disabled state. So I want to make sure that it is in fact disabled when it has that disabled attribute. So I'm going to go to my back to my test, and we could put should, we could put another should, we could chain that, but there's actually an alias of should, and it's and. So, and then we can say have class, and then the second parameter is that value, and that was MUI disabled. If I remember correctly. Let's go ahead and just try it. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to flip back over, and that seemed to work fine. Oops, I didn't actually flip over for you guys. Okay, so that seemed to work fine. So now we've got both of those. We've got the assertion that it's disabled and the assertion that it has this class of disabled. So, and if we want to, we can even say down here that it doesn't have that class of disabled if we wanted to. So we could say this is totally a improvisation, by the way, guys. So I hope this works. But I think it's should not have class, and then we'll say that same thing. Paste that in there. So we're going to make sure we're going to find that button, and then we're going to make sure it doesn't have that class, and then we're going to click on it. So let's go ahead and save that and flip back over. And there we go. So now we've got those two assertions, and we type in the password, and then we grab that button. We make the assertion that it does not have that class, and then we click on it. And there we go. So let's see, it's 8:20. I think we have time for a few more kind of extra things that yeah, let's go ahead and try those. So see, which one should we do? Let's use the selector. The selector playground, and let's see if we can check that box, that remember me. So I'll go here and click on this, and whoops, and click on this guy. So private switch base. Let me see, how about this whole thing? MUI form control label root. That looks okay, I guess. All right, I'm gonna do, this is kind of another improvisation, just sort of getting in my head as far as how I kind of go through this process to find the ideal. I mean, obviously we found a working selector, but is it ideal? I don't know. And so I want to dig in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and print this to console, and then I think I can I click on that? Yeah, that opens it up. I guess I can just work with this. Let's see. So I've got that label, and where's the actual checkbox? Let's see. So I guess this is this input right here. This input is our checkbox. So name is remember. How about text? We talked about grabbing by text. So here's remember me. And let's see, but the actual checkbox, or rather the input, is inside of this span here. So let's see, we've got this span that contains remember me. So let's see. Oh, wait, we've got a data test. Okay, so let's start with that. Let's see how that goes. Let's see. So I've got, if I do, well, let's see. I want to click on remember me, I guess, before I click on submit. So I'll do username, password, and then remember me. So I'll go back to VS Code and I'll do, say I put in the password. And let's do this. Let's do, so it's sci.get and then date. Let's see. Oh, wait. Let me just use the, I guess I can't use that because it's not. The selector playground isn't giving me that. Isn't giving that to me, that data test. So that's okay. So I've got data test. I'll just copy that. So here we go. So I'll do, and this actually needs to be in brackets. So now we've got that, and let's just see if that works. So I'm just going to go ahead and try that. And let's see, where is it? Okay, good. So we've got that. And then we could do click, but there's also check. I believe, let's just see if that works. I mean, technically this is a span, and inside of the span is the input, the checkbox. But let's see if Cypress is smart enough to just check it. I don't know. We might have to get the input inside of it first, but let's just give it a try. So if I do that and then dot check, let's just try that. This might not work, but that's okay. That's what this is for. See, so this is what the error looks like. That's fine. So it says check can only be called on a checkbox. That's okay. So now what we can do is we can say, we can do, I think it would be filter input. Let's just try that. And then I'll explain that in a bit. Okay. I see. Okay. So let's do this instead. See, that's what I like about this watch ability is we kind of, okay, that worked. So we can kind of play around with it. We can go in here and then we can, we can go back to the runner and we can try it and, we can see if it worked and then go back, back and forth. Sorry, I'm not showing you guys my VS Code, but I'm going in here and I'm making changes and then I'm seeing if that worked in the runner here. So let's see. So we've got that data test, remember me, and it checks it just fine, and we can sign in. So let me go back to my code. So this is what I did. So at first I did the filter. I don't know why that was the first thing. I thought of, but that was wrong. So so what I did is I added this input here. So what this means is this particular selector is it says, okay, get this data test, and then inside of that, get the input. And if we go back to, in case you guys kind of missed it, if we go back to, if we go back here and I go to, let's go back to that snapshot where, okay, I'll just inspect that. So we've got, yeah, this, I think this is what we grabbed before, this whole label. So we said, let's get the data test, which was right here. So we're getting this span, and then inside of it is this input. So if you remember, there was an error that said, oh, we can't check on that because it's not a checkbox. So I said, okay, let's grab the input that's inside of the this data test sign in remember me, and then let's check that. And I don't see a data test in there. We could try grabbing it by text, but I think that would actually be kind of tricky because this isn't, it's not like we can say, okay, grab, at least not easily. We can't say, and if you guys have a suggestion or you're more savvy than I am at this, you can say, I mean, basically what we would say is, okay, grab the thing that has remember me inside of it, but specifically the input that is next to it. And what I mean by next to it is, it's not like we can say, remember me, and then inside of that, inside of that element that has remember me is where the checkbox is. It's not even a parent of that. It's more like a sibling, I guess. It's the child of a sibling to that element with remember me. So it's kind of a little crazy to try to select that by by the text. So I think that this makes sense in this case, this fallback to the data test. And where it's actually sign in dash remember me, I think that's okay. I think it's pretty, because the point here is that we want to make our tests readable, right? We want it to be maintainable. We want other people the other members of our team, developer or QA or whatever, to be contributing to this project, that we're working so hard on. So we want to limit that friction as much as possible. And the way that we do that is by writing good tests, tests that are easy to read. And so I think it's pretty clear from here. And the check is really to come back a month later and look at your tests and see if it's actually, if it looks right, if it makes sense after you've kind of long forgotten about the test. But, I'm looking at this and it looks okay. We're getting the password of typing it in, and we're looking for this element, remember me. It's an input and we're checking it. So it sounds to me like it's a checkbox. And we're taking a button that's a sign in and clicking on it after making an assertion. So to me, this looks readable. This makes sense. So I think it's pretty good. So moving on. Let me see. We've got some comments. I'm going to take a quick break and look and see what looks like Cody's got some thing here. Let's see. Visit type. I guess this is just copying I guess it's just copied what I've got in there. I don't know if there's something else that I'm missing there. Let me know. You added more assertions. Okay. Cool. Let's take a look. So, I see. Okay, cool. Well, let's just go ahead and add those in. We might as well. Those are great examples. So let's see. So he said, let's get this checkbox and let's see. So you did something like this. You did this, and then you did a dot should not be checked. Do I have that right? Yeah, you did. Okay, let me go back. So here's the code. So so you added this piece where you have the remember me and should not be checked. This is good. We could actually put this down here, and this is great because oops, this is good. This is good that you brought this up because one of the things. Now let me actually save it before and make sure it actually works before I start running off here. We'll make sure that. Okay, cool. So we've got, let's see, we've got the remember me input and expected it not to be checked, and then we checked it. Okay, good. So so going back to the code here. So we've got that should not be checked. So the should, the assertion, it yields its subject. And what that means is that the subject is what it's the subject is what was returned by the command before it. So in this case, the sci.get. So the sci.get yields, so that's the subject to the should that yields the element. The should yields whatever its subject was, in this case, that element. So it just passes it through. So we can do sci.get.should.check, and that works. So it's a good assertion, and because of the way that should works, we can actually eliminate a line. Let's see, and you've got oh, and it looks like you've got a have class checked, so that's cool too. So let me grab that, and I'll go in here, and we can do should not be checked, and we can do should. No, what the heck is this? Detected unusual line delimiter terminators. Oh, maybe it's just because of how I copied it. That's okay. Ignore this. Yeah. Or fix it. Fine. Just didn't like that. Okay, so let me save it. And we'll go back. And what went wrong? Let me see what I did wrong. So, oh, I see. It was after you check it that you make sure that it has that class. That was my bad. Okay, so I should be able to, let's see, if check. Okay, so this is also really great because we're able to kind of go through some of the real world problems that you guys would run into if this was your real application. So if we want to trim this down a little bit, so let me go back to, okay, so this was, sorry, I kind of lost my place there. Okay, so we've got this check, and we want to see if we can check that it has this class after the fact. Now, what we need to make sure of, right, is we need to pass the element to this should. So the subject needs to be the element, same as with the first should not be checked, right? That takes the element as its subject. So in order for this have class to receive the element as the subject, this needs to pass it through. So how do we do that? Well, we can hover over this check command, and this this colon right here means, well, what comes after it is what this function returns. So I know this is probably convoluted. It just takes some getting used to, but essentially this returns Cypress.chainable jQuery element. So in other words, this is going to pass forward the jQuery element. So theoretically, this should work. So if I do save and go back, let me see. It should work. Where am I? And it didn't because something. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, huh. You know, I wonder if that class MUI checked is actually not in the input. Maybe it's in the element before. Let's see. Let's see here. Not to be checked. All right, let's go to this assertion and not to be checked, and then check. Okay, I know what to do. Let's see. Okay, so if I go to, this is the one that's failing. Let me, no, sorry, this one. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to save that and I'm going to run it, and then I'm going to look at that point in time. I'm going to look at that DOM snapshot and see. And I'm sure Cody's probably shaking his head saying, what are you doing? Okay, so I've got this and I'm checking it. So I click check, and after, all right, let me see if I can inspect this. No, I can't. Let me try it this way. Yeah, so what's happening is this is the input. Okay, so I've got, so yeah, I was right. So well, I'm wrong in the way I'm doing it, but I was right about why. It's because, okay, so let me show you in the code what I'm seeing. So we're making sure, okay, so we're saying, okay, here's the input, and we're saying it shouldn't be checked, and then we're checking it, and then we're saying it should have class, but it's actually not the input that has that class, it's just this data test. So now in Cody's example, and I don't know if Cody actually ran through this, but he actually used a click. I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but let's go ahead and try it, because maybe a click works a little bit differently. But let's just give it a try. Let's see. If I say, if I go, let me see, I'm gonna, nope, let me undo that. So let's see. So I'll comment this out, and I'll take this input out. And I think the way Cody did it is, I'll check it in a second, is he did this, he did a click, just see if this works. I think it's good to try it anyway, just to see. So wow, that actually worked. So that was cool, right? Let me see, data test, remember me, click. So it actually checked that box. That's interesting. This is not something that I've actually come across before, but that's cool. So rather than say check the input, I can just say click on um, that outer element, and then I guess that that event is passed through to the input that that needs it or something. I don't know how better to describe that, but it kind of makes sense to me. So so cool. So let's just go with that. So we have that. We click on it, and then let's see. Oh, should not be checked though. But then, so now, let me see. So now I don't know that I don't know okay. So that, sorry guys, I don't know if you saw this. So I'm just gonna go back. So that click worked. Let me go back to the code and show you what I'm looking at. So now um, I made an assertion on the checkbox, the input. So I don't know. My theory is that this is going to work because it's going to say, okay, we clicked on this. Let me see what that element. Sorry, I'm all over the place because I'm kind of thinking out loud. But let's see. So this click, what is that? What does that yield? Applied to. Okay, so you can see in here, you can see what I'm looking at. So we've got applied to, and that's what was passed to it, but it says actual element clicked is that input. Kind of like what I was describing before, is you've got what it applied to, but the thing that was actually clicked was the input inside of it, which is what I was grabbing before to check rather than click, but that's okay. So now what I don't know is will will the click will the click yield the thing that was clicked, or will it yield what it was, what its subject, if that makes sense. So I'm going to just try it. So I'm going to say I'm going to say I'm going to use that dot should. I'm going to keep that there. Let me go ahead and save that. And my theory is, actually, I don't know what my theory is yet. Let's just see. Let's go in here. Okay, so where are we? So we've got this click and then assert that it shouldn't be checked. Is that right? Yep. Awesome. Okay, cool. So it looks like what was yielded was, actually, we can probably go back here. Let's go back and let's do this assertion. The subject was this span. Interesting. Okay, so okay, not to be checked. Okay, let me see what happens when we, wait a minute. Sorry, I kind of goofed here. So let me show you. So if I go in here, I was actually asserting that the element wasn't checked after I already clicked it, and that passed. So that was interesting. I think that that's actually That's actually kind of a trap. That's a trap because it's a trap because what we're saying is we're saying that what the click is yielding, we're saying what this click is yielding, which is just a span. It's just what this is. We're saying this span, make sure that it's not checked and it's passing. But I guess when we assert that it's not checked, we're asserting that it doesn't have some checked property, which it wouldn't because it's a span. So that's kind of interesting. I guess chai, inside of chai, there's no kind of like deeper assertion to say, well, let's actually make sure that it's a checkbox first, but that's okay. So now we know. So if I go to, okay, so we checked it. So if I say has class, let's just see if that works. And then I think I'm gonna call it, let's see. Okay, let's go here. But this is a good exercise though. I like this. So let's see. So we've got this and we clicked on it and it has the class checked, which is what we got caught into before. So that's good. Now, I think what we can do is we can say, let me move this up. So, okay, so sorry, I didn't show you VS Code. So we've got this click and then this should. I think what we can do is we can say, we can do these other assertions, but I mean, sorry, this assertion, but that would require a little bit more kind of ninja skills in between here. Because I think what we can do is we can, well, we could just repeat ourselves a little bit. So we could actually just do something like this. So we could do that. Or we can say, or we can do something like this. We can say, let's move that up there, and we can say should not, right? Should not have class that, and then you click on it, and then it does have the class. And especially if it's coupled with the check attribute, maybe that's sufficient. So all of this stuff will work, but there could be some redundancy there. I don't know if all of that's really necessary. Let's actually go back to, I mean, in a real world situation, I don't know whether I'd apply all of those, but those are still good though. So we've got that remember me input, and then it's not checked. And then we get this, and we see that it has checked, and we click on it, and it doesn't have that checked class. And then we click on it, and it does have that checked class. And then if we wanted to, we could even do this nonsense. We could put this here and do sci.get and then should be checked. I'm sure there's a way that we could what do you call it, like refactor that a little bit, but I think that's going to be another day. Okay, cool. I didn't even get through all these questions. I got caught up in Cody's code there. Let me see. Was that all of the? I'll go through this. I don't think there's any more, Cody. If there's any more that I'm missing, let me know and I can add those in, because I'll just put those. I think I'll just put those in the next branch, so they'll just stay there. Let me see. You could do siblings in Cypress. Thank you, Trevor. Let's see. Yep. Okay. It's good to see you work through this. Good. I'm glad that that you value this. Check and click both work, right? Yep. That's what we found. Well, the click works, at least from what I've been doing, the click works on the click works on that data test element, but yeah, and I guess click would work on the input, but check doesn't work on check doesn't work on that span. Check only works on the input inside of it. Let's see, and it looks like we've got some more. So Cody, maybe come on Slack later and let me know if there's any of these ones that I'm missing or that I could add in, or I could look at the code after, because I do want to wrap up on time. Let's see, sci.get should not be checked, should be checked. Yep, Clint. Yeah, that definitely would work. Would not apply all as well. Yep, just trying to learn. Yep, that's cool. And let's see, after clicking the sign in button, that would be good practice to see if the user routed to the right place. Yes, Clint. Yeah, that's good. And actually, that's kind of where we're going in most likely the next one. We're going to talk about, actually, wait, I'm sorry. I didn't talk about the take home challenge yet. So here are the bonus activities. We talked about the Remember Me. So this is something that you could try on your own, is test navigating to the sign up page. Because if you remember on here, there's also a sign up. So there's like a little thing down at the bottom right. It says, don't have an account, sign up. So you could try that. So test navigating to the sign up page, make more assertions on the sign in page. And we actually did. So that was good suggestion from Cody. Oops. And then take home challenge. So test the sign up feature. So fill out the form. Let me actually go back to that on here and I'll show you guys. So if we do this, my bad. Let me go here. Sign up. Oh, I guess you can't go to sign up if you log. Okay, so here's the sign up page. Okay, so we've got first name, last name. So I'll just fill in my information, and then let's just say Mike testing, and then password 1234, 1234, something like that, and then click sign up. And yeah, if you want, you can test this one, but just click sign up. So let me go back here. So yeah, so fill out and submit the form. When you do that, you're going to end up creating a new user. Okay. Then I want you to take that new user and sign in as that person. So I did Mike testing and my password was 1234 and do sign in. When you sign in for the first time, when you sign in for the first time, you're going to see this get started with real world app, and you've got a little next thing. You don't have to interact with that if you don't want to, but the main thing is assert that the URL is correct. So that's kind of getting to your question there, Clint. So assert that the URL is right, and assert that the get started with real world app dialog. So that dialog is visible, and you can do that however way you want. Extra credit, sign up a unique user each time the test is executed. So if you know, if I go back here, I would imagine, I mean, let's just try it, but I would imagine I can't use that same username. So get creative here. Oh, crap. I don't know how to get through this. Let me see. Play around with it until it works. I don't know what an invalid account number is. Okay, that works. Okay, save, done. Okay, now that I've gotten past that. So we're here. So now let me sign up and then I'll put in the same details. I have no idea if this is going to work, guys. This is a total improvisation. Oh, wait. I think I did Mike. And then what did I say? Mike testing. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Huh. Well, I didn't get a failure, but I doubt that it was created. Well, nonetheless, it's my workshop. I'm saying sign up a unique user each time it's executed. That's your bonus. That's your extra credit. And then also set up the intelligent code completion. If we go to day one, I do have all of these details here. So a lot of the stuff that was on the slides, plus more is here. I've got all this hands-on stuff that we went through, select your playground, and contains, etc., default assertions. So all of those links and things that I clicked on and showed you, they're all here. And then you've got this intelligent code completion, which is, yeah, there's instructions here on what it is and how to set it up. But it's good because it gives you all this fun stuff, like the preview and everything that I showed you before. So it might work out of the box for you. You know, your mileage may vary, but yeah, that's that. And then what was the other thing that I was going to tell you guys about? Oh yeah, and then with let me see if I go. Let's see. Let me go down to URL. This is all I'm going to give you. Okay. Sci.url yields the current URL as a string. Okay. So that should give you a little bit of a head start on the challenge. So yeah, I guess it's 9 o'clock. So I'm going to sign off. Appreciate all you guys and your contributions, questions and comments and feedback and things like that. I really appreciate that. I have a lot of fun doing this. I hope you guys do too. Bear with me as I kind of figure out, audio and all of this twitchiness here with the video and also kind of going back and forth between screens. I promise to kind of polish that process up so it's a little bit smoother, and get the YouTube stuff figured out so you guys don't have to wait. But yeah, I appreciate you guys' patience with that. One other thing is I have been kind of considering possibility of maybe doing like an office hours on Tuesday mornings, like maybe between 8 and 9 that time. Might not be a full hour, but at least be available. I could even hop on Zoom and help. So if you guys have like Cypress questions, JavaScript questions, testing questions in general, I can be available. Yeah, if you guys need that, it's something I'll I'm willing to do if there's interest. So feel free to reach out to me on Slack, and if you guys have more questions. But other than that, I'll see you guys next week. Thanks a lot for coming, and have a good rest of your night and have a good week. See ya.